Peace, love, and light, family. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're switching up some things just slightly. I got my brother here. His name is Sam. He has his own YouTube, Next Level Breakthrough. And we got something interesting to talk about because right now there's so many different issues that men are battling. And I think it's important for us to have different perspectives. So I'm a millennial. I was born in the 90s, and my brother here, he's younger, he's 20. So this is going to be an awesome conversation for you guys to listen to. So if you want to go ahead and introduce, I did it slightly. Just let them know who you are just a little bit, and just a little bit about your mindset that you currently have. And we'll start off initially with male loneliness because that's a big topic right now. So if you want to introduce and just talk just briefly on male loneliness.
So like you said, my name's Sam. I'm 20. I'm Gen Z. I was born in 2004, so 21 coming up soon. But yeah, men's loneliness is definitely a big topic right now, especially my generation coming up. It's a little bit different. A lot of people are struggling finding relationships, struggling with sticking with relationships, struggling with friend groups, relating to people, finding things, all that, good stuff going on currently. So yeah, loneliness is definitely a big issue. Right now I'm kind of isolated myself, not because I don't have friends, but because I just choose to be by myself a lot because, as you evolve and kind of mature, you just don't relate to a lot of things with people anymore, leading you just to be lonely as well as, this world is just kind of pushing loneliness with everyone being behind a screen on social media and connecting online, and we don't really connect in person anymore, or even when we're together we're all just on our phones. So loneliness is definitely a big issue right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the biggest things that these younger generations battle with, and me being a millennial too, is social media. So, you know, as I speak on my channel often, I think a huge problem is the fact that when you guys are so incorporated in, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you see a false concept of what reality is as a man. Because a lot of men are going to have to struggle. A lot of men are going to have to get it out the mud. A lot of men aren't going to hit that jackpot and win the lottery overnight. So when you're stuck on social media, you see he might be 20, you see like a 19-year-old just fresh out of high school, and he got one video that went viral, and now he's making money off, TikTok. So he's monetized just off a video. So that makes it think that you're going to be able to do that. And a lot of us, unfortunately, as you might be experiencing this right now. That's not the truth. So I think when we talk about male loneliness, it's a huge problem because it stems from dating. A lot of men are having a hard time getting women, and there's so many different issues that I talk about that, which leads me into the next conversation, which goes hand in hand with male loneliness, is the fact that young men as well as millennials, one of our biggest battles is masculinity. A lot of us, we have low testosterone. We don't know how to keep a solid masculine frame. We don't know how to say no. And we don't know how to truly battle when our mindset is trying to keep us down. Because we're going to go through difficult battles. And part of masculinity is having discipline and being able to walk through that fire knowing that I'm going to make it out of that tunnel. I'm still going to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So when we talk about masculinity, what have you noticed in your eyes on, you're 20, what do you think some of your peers are battling when you talk about just masculinity? And we'll keep it broad for now. Do you have troubles with seeing that, or some of your personal experiences that you've had?
When it comes to masculinity, obviously the first word that comes to my head is testosterone, which is just a proven scientific fact that testosterone has gone down over the generations, which probably, like we just talked about, has to do with social media, being on screen so much. People aren't really going to the gym as much. They aren't eating healthy. A lot of people aren't doing things that promotes testosterone and increases it. Yeah, we're doing things that decreases it. So testosterone has definitely dropped. There's definitely a lot of more males struggling with having high testosterone and that drive and energy. as well as another thing I see associated with masculinity is keeping your composure. Which we all have emotions. I'm emotional at times, but especially in my generation, I see a lot of crash outs. Like it's a cool word now to use, crash outs. So people can't, especially men, we can't keep our composure through difficult times, through tough, tight times. A lot of men are just falling into crashing out or depression, or letting people get them off guard, which you get outside of your masculine frame. And I think the last thing I think of with masculinity is just having that broad image of being a man, which, is a whole nother rabbit hole discussion. But a lot of men nowadays, aren't really acting like men, or, they're just confused with who they are as a man. So it kind of throws your masculinity off there.
Yeah, I would say, just to go off that, a lot of what he's saying kind of is one of the bigger issues is because we don't have any masculine leadership. So a lot of times men need brotherhood. A lot of men need somebody to look up to. They need a positive role model. And although a lot of times people won't admit it, we won't admit it as men that we do look up to men. So you have, if it's always been this way when we're in tribal, you always will have the alpha, quote unquote, or the leader of the group. And that is leading the next generation, and it's really showing them. A lot of times you have to see it. So there's one thing if I talk to them, I tell them, but if I'm actually embodying that fully and I'm not only walking, I'm talking it too, it's completely different. So when I talk about masculinity and when I say masculinity in general, I think we're just losing that because a lot of men have fell victim to the program that this society has given us. A lot of us are going to jobs that we hate, so that's lowering your masculinity, because how can you truly be a masculine man when you're going to a job having an answer to a boss? You don't have any business, you don't have any work ethic, you're not grinding, you're not truly having pure motivation, and then you don't want to go to the gym. A lot of us don't like truly understand the concept of our nutrition and eating proper foods. And I know it's difficult right now because a lot of us are just struggling in terms of finances, but all this is about being a complete package. And that's what we always talk about here at Men Are Needed. So this conversation needs to be had more and more. And we just need to just try to bridge the gap between the younger generation and the older generations, because it's not even, I mean, we're 15 years apart, but you'll have 40-year-olds that truly don't understand the Gen Zs. And I think the biggest problem is we're not willing to listen. A lot of you guys watching this and a lot of people that I come in contact with, they feel like they have all the answers. You can't tell them anything. They have it all figured out, but then they're going down the wrong path. And if as men, part of masculinity is being accountable for your actions. So if he's messing up, or if I'm messing up, it's our job as brothers to tell each other that we're going down the wrong path. And I think that's where we're failing as men, because if I told you right now, you're messing up, bro, you need to do better, a lot of you guys would get in your ego. A lot of you guys would get in your pride. A lot of you guys would say, screw you, I'm not trying to listen to you. I mean, that's why most of us can't grow channels. A lot of people would talk about, well, we need more channels that help men out. We need more men's group. But when you have a men's group, you guys don't want to support it. And I think that's the biggest problem, because a lot of us don't chase purpose. A lot of us will chase pleasure. And that's what I see right now. This generation is not pursuing their purpose. And that's why I appreciate what my brother's doing, because he's talking about finding your breakthrough. And a lot of us come from generational curses, right? So in order for you to get a breakthrough, you first have to heal. You first have to go through trauma. You first have to heal from that trauma. You have to embark on a self-improvement journey. So I know you've started that. So can you explain to the people just a little bit about how you went down the path of self-improvement and how that looked in real time in your eyes, just self-improvement in general?
Yeah, so Gen Z specifically, I would say anyone around my age that's like 16, 17 up to like 23, 24, 25. I think a lot of people can relate to, unfortunately, like you said, a lot of us don't really listen because, we have so much things on social media, so much information online. We're all growing up a certain way. So we don't really listen. So unfortunately, a lot of us just have to fall on our behind flat out And then when you finally like kind of lose it all is when you really start embracing who you are. So you really have to get to a point where you just stop worrying about materials, money, things of this world, you know, like attention from other people, validation, all those things. You just got to put it to the side and take a minute to finally ask yourself, who am I? And, you know, hopefully a lot of people will start getting to that point before they just fall out on their behind, you know, flat out. But I basically just kind of went through a lot of things where I felt like I kind of lost it all. And then that's when I truly started embracing who I am and started trying to eat better, go to the gym more, make content, just better myself daily. Because I know, you know, self improvement is huge, especially in this generation, because a lot of the issues we face, if everyone embraced self improvement and became the best versions of themselves, we would have half of these society issues that we have right now.
That's a fact. And a lot of this is, difficult, hard work. It's not easy. That's why, a lot of men don't end up being great men. Let's just keep it 100. Let's just call it like it is. A lot of men end up wallowing around in misery, falling victim to a drug, run into, a bottle because they can't cope with things. And I think that's why I stress the importance of trying to heal yourself. Here specifically at Men Are Needed, I talk about God. I talk about how you need to find your way back to God, because that's ultimately the way, in my perspective, because without having a solid foundation of understanding light versus dark, you're going to fall victim to the darkness, because most people are operating in this mindset that I'd rather see you lose because I'm not winning, so I want to see you lose. There's a lot of haters. There's a lot of people that don't support you. So I think when you have a like-minded individual that will support you, it's important for us to build together. It's important for us to develop a positive brotherhood. And I think when we're really talking about one of the biggest battles we have, it's like big on us. It's just mental health, depression, anxiety, that all goes hand in hand with loneliness. But just being depressed is a big battle that a lot of us have right now. And when we talk about depression, it'll creep up on you, bro. You might not think you are, but you're going to a job, you're hating your job, you're coming home, you don't want to be around people, you're not praying, and it just takes that little bit of doubt that creeps in, and then you're getting all off your routine, and you're not wanting to be you don't want to do that self-improvement journey no more. So I think you have to have structure when you're talking about depression, when you're talking about men's mental health. And a lot of people don't want to validate what we're going through, especially women. It's not about bashing women. There's a time and a place, and we need to definitely heal the gap between men and women. But we're still struggling with just generations, because he's saying things, and if I'm not truly willing to listen to what he's saying, and he's not willing to listen to what I'm saying, then we're never going to grow. The whole process of growth is about learning, in my opinion at least. And we should all be able to learn and then truly apply that. So if you learn things, you have to apply it too, though. You have to take what I'm telling you and apply that in real life. You have to be intentional with what you're doing. And I think that's where we need to continue to stress how important brotherhood is. And, I think sometimes when we're really truly looking at just men in general, a lot of us go through a silent battle. I would say for me specifically, one of the silent battles that I went through was going through being a father, not truly understanding the depth of the court system when you're talking about having a child with a woman, and then you're going to a court that doesn't really value your father's rights. And I know that's something that he hasn't went through personally, but I think when we're truly guiding our future generations, it's important for them to at least learn from the mistakes that we're having. And that's one of the biggest mistakes that I had. And I love my daughter. I value my daughter. But if I could truly understand at that moment that that would change everything in my life, and I had people truly, truly giving me knowledge and being active in my life would be completely different. And I think that's where these conversations are important. Just by talking about this and having a conversation where you guys might hear this, and I'm telling you that, bro, you got to really choose your partner wisely. You got to try to not procreate at an early age. because there's a lot of STDs out here. There's a lot of women that are spiteful. There's a lot of women that are evil. So it's important for you to heal yourself. So that was one of the biggest battles that led me depressed. I was anxious because I wasn't able to see my daughter. I felt like I was lonely because my daughter wasn't truly in my life. So what would you say in your aspect as far as mental health is something that you truly battled and you feel like you're overcoming or about to overcome or in the process of doing that?
Mm, I would say nowadays, I think we can all relate. The biggest mental thing being created is anxiety, especially like you said, when you look online and I'm 20 and I see another 20-year-old that's saying they're a millionaire and driving a Lamborghini. It just makes me feel like, what am I doing at my age? And then, you start thinking, am I going to make it? Is it going to work out? Or what do I got going for myself? What do I do? All these different questions just pop up in your head and you start questioning yourself and you create this anxiety. And, it's hard to suppress because a little bit of anxiety, in my opinion, can be a good thing to push yourself. But nowadays, it's just so much anxiety being created that it's like, even sometimes I question my own self, like, am I doing it right? Or is it worth it? Or, you know what I'm saying? Why am I not in this position that I want to be in? Or why am I not like that person? So, and it ties with comparison too. Obviously, people don't really think of that as a mental health issue, but comparing yourself to others and other things is definitely a mental health issue. You should never want to be in someone else's shoes. You should embody the person you are. So when you have a point of, I wish I was that guy, then, you should really take a step back to think about that is a mental health issue in itself.
Yeah, that's a fact. I think that anxiety just in itself is a big problem that we battle as men. And I think part of that is because we're not in the present moment. Right now we're out in nature, so you're able to take some time away from social media and just be still. There's a reason why the Bible says, be still and know that I am God. And when we start comparing ourselves to others, that's when we start to lose as men, I think, because competition is good. It can be healthy when you're playing sports and stuff. You want to compete, but in a broad spectrum, a lot of us, well, first of all, we have negative mindsets in the first place. So until we get a positive mindset, just competing, you're always going to have this crabs in the barrel mindset, anyways. So when we were truly taking a look at how we can battle this anxiety, knowing that we're not at where we want to be at in life, I think it's important for us to realize that we're all running our own race. And a lot of us want to sprint, not realizing this is a marathon. So for him, he might see, I'm seeing people that are 20 and they got 1 million subscribers, or they got a Lamborghini, they got a Ferrari, they got these baddies. And that's his perspective now. But when in 5 years, it might change. For me, I might see, let's just use this as an example. I see people my age and they got a happy family. They're married. They got that home. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that I want. But the reality is, bro, we're all battling something. Everybody has problems, but God gave me this specific test for a reason. This is my path that I was given. So how can we make the best out of what we were given? And I think that's important for us to be grateful at the end of the day, because I think that's what truly brings us back to reality. Because when we're depressed, when we're anxious, it's easy for us to complain, right? And I think that's the problem. There's a lot of complainers and there's not too many doers. There's a lot of people that will take from you, but there's not a lot of people that will actually give to you. And I think we have to give back, and I think that's what he's doing on his channel, as well as that's what I've been doing from day one, has been trying to give back knowledge. We're not gatekeeping over here. We're walking with God. We're truly rising and ultimately trying to find our breakthrough, trying to find our purpose. And so many men don't know what their purpose is. And I ask you, how can you help others? That's an easy question to start. What can I do in this very moment right now to help others? That's why we said, let's start this podcast. Let's just talk about this right now and just talk. And even if it touches one person, this one person hears this and it's like, you know what? I needed to hear that message because I have been battling. And to see brothers talk about this on a channel where we're talking specifically about self-improvement for men, men getting back to God, men rising in frequency, men getting back in nature, men truly having goals. Like, what goals can we have? What goals can we truly strive towards. And even if we don't hit them, at least you're moving towards a specific direction, because motivation comes and goes. I can motivate my brother right now. He might be motivated after watching this episode, but what is he going to do when he's truly just by himself and them demons try to creep in and try to play on his mind? He has to have the discipline set in place. He has to have the structure. He has to have the routine, and he has to be able to go be truly comfortable being alone with themselves. And I think that's where we lose as men, because we're not comfortable being alone. I think when we talked about loneliness earlier, that's true. A lot of men are alone, but there's beauty in being alone. I'm not saying you have to be alone forever. I'm saying that if worse comes to worse, you have to be comfortable knowing that I'm going through this time period where it's a season. God's going to push me through my breakthrough. But right now, I'm in a trial period. And these are tribulations that I'm battling right now. And it's difficult. It's extremely difficult. But I'm going to make it through here. I'm going to get out knowing that I'm a true warrior. And that's what we need to have, is this warrior mentality, because life's not easy. Life's always been difficult. Life's been difficult for him. He's seen a lot of things at 20. I seen growing up at 15. I'm like, damn, is this my life? What am I doing on this purpose? Because I feel like I don't want to be here no more. And I think that's what we need to think about, is the future generations. And I think that's what he's thinking about too. And that's why these conversations are important. So if you could change a couple things in the future, what would you say, like ideally, like let's just use a perfect world, because we know a lot of these things are difficult. What are maybe one or two things that you would like men to strive towards, or something that we could change for the future?
Mm, you know, theoretically speaking, I would say a couple things that would definitely fix a lot of issues with men specifically is, like we talked about, one, self-improvement. I mean, start there, like just start becoming the best version of yourself, mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, all those aspects, like just become an all-around superstar, not just one area. And then, as well as, like you said, striving towards goals, purpose, whatever it may be, have something you're striving towards. Because unfortunately, I was lost at one point too, just trying everything and anything. And I was thinking it was going to be this route or that route. But essentially, I didn't have one specific goal or purpose that drove me to wake up every morning and push through those hard days. And if you don't have that either, then on those hard days, you're just going to sit back, kick back, give up, just roll over, run a bottle, blunt, whatever it may be. So I'll just stick with those two things theoretically: self-improvement and striving towards something that makes you wake up every morning.
Yeah, those are good ones right there. I would say for me, I think we need to work on is unity. That's one of the biggest ones, because a lot of us don't want to unite. A lot of us don't want to support each other. We need to unite in these communities, bro. We see, cops killing people. We see our own people killing people. We see us stuck in generational traumas where this inflation is ruining us. And then, we can't get our mind right. So then we want to crash out. And if you had somebody that was there for you, if you had somebody that had your back and was truly loyal, then that would change your whole life, because a lot of us don't even have people we could trust nowadays. There's really, truly, trustworthiness is rare nowadays, which is sad. Loyalty is rare nowadays. Having people that are going to really be down for you is rare nowadays. People that are narcissistic, that's the common norm nowadays. So we need to reorganize the way we're moving as communities. So unity, uniting, supporting, helping each other out, paying it forward, all of this is what we need to do. And when we talk about men, we need to get back to the basics. We need to get back to understanding that our mindset is key. So when he's talking about self-improvement, you have to read books. You have to go out and work out. You have to put yourself in uncomfortable positions. Yeah, we know you might not want to go to work. Yeah, we know you might not want to go approach that girl. But you feeling that sting of rejection sometimes is a positive thing, because it allows you to understand that nothing's going to be handed to you. Until you truly go out and get it, you're not going to have anything. Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody really cares about you as a man. And that's the unfortunate reality. You have to make something out of yourself. This world is evil. This world is demonic. But if we unite, if we push each other to be great, if we have each other's back, if we keep having conversations like this and truly bridging the gap between all of our generations and allowing the future generations to understand that there are still men that are going to step up and rise when God is calling them to rise. There's still men that are going to understand their purpose. There's still men that are going to try to be a positive role model for women without having this RP rage and seeing every woman as an evil woman, because that's not the truth, bro. The truth is that there's a lot of amazing, wonderful women, but they need you first to step up and rise as the king that God created you to be. So this is only the beginning. This is only the start of what we're doing here at Men Are Needed. We're expanding. We're constantly trying to grow and evolve and bring better conversations, better content, and truly enlighten the masses so that you guys can awaken and become more conscious. So is there anything that you want to close off with saying to the peoples?
Uh, like you said, if you want to check out my YouTube channel, Next Level Breakthrough, you can look up Stone Speaks if that pops up. But just to conclude, I guess a little motivational statement is, you can only be as good as the best version of yourself, meaning that, that version of yourself that you want to be is out there, but you're only going to be as good as that person. So, like I told my cousin the other day, the $1,000,000 version of yourself, what do they do when they wake up in the middle of the day before you go to sleep? How do they operate? How do they think? And just be that man today, and you're going to get there quicker than you know it.
That's a fact. It's time for us to rise. It's time for us to build. It's time for us to win. We will no longer keep being losers. This is our moment. This is the time period that God has called us into action. So if you're watching this video, I ask you guys to join us here at Men Are Needed. Hit the subscribe, hit the like, share this. Let's allow these conversations to be the normal. Let's allow what we talk about behind closed doors. A lot of men are afraid to speak this truth, and the true enlightenment is when you can speak it not only in closed doors but on this camera when you know the whole world is watching. So let's normalize these conversations and put them out to the masses. Don't just keep these conversations like these are barbershop conversations. I only say this when it's just one or two of my homeboys. We need to speak the truth. We need to acknowledge the fact that we're struggling. We need to acknowledge the fact that men are truly battling right now. A lot of men don't know anything. They're just lost with no guidance, no direction, no knowledge, no power, and they're falling victim to this matrix, going on the hub playing with themselves. So when we talk about truly rising and truly winning and reaching that next level breakthrough, it's important for us to speak truth, to shine light, and keep progressing, growing, evolving. Thanks for watching this video. Until next time, peace.